Hi there, welcome to the Beaten Trail, and in this episode we're going to finish up our series for Wind Rock, Tennessee. And this is part 3 of our trip on the Trail 32, which was a lot of fun. If you haven't seen our previous videos on this, please do so. We took a side trip. It was Gary in his Polaris Trail 2020 Fox Edition, and we had Shane in his X3 Turbo RR, and myself, I was in the Honda Talon 1000R. So unfortunately, you'll hear me reference a couple different times, I was in stock tires. So these are 28s before we got the bigger tires on there. Some of these rocks, not huge, not gigantic, but there was a good amount of rocks that I could have used more clearance for. So here we're just getting out a little bit and cleaning up our cameras. It was a rainy day. It was not too bad during the day, probably about 50 degrees, but then just getting little specks of rain on the cameras required me to go ahead and clean it up. I haven't done any testing for any Rain-X on the lenses. I'm a little hesitant to do that just because I know it's alcohol based and it could go ahead and do some damage. But let me know, have you done any Rain-X testing on Insta360 cameras? I probably would be hesitant, but I should get some lens covers and try it that way. But I'm not really sure if it really would help too much. These are low-speed trails, and as you can see, we were just doing some climbing, getting through and going up some hills. Now, there were slippery leaves all over the place, and the rocks were muddy. There was a good flow of rain coming down because it was a steady rain throughout the day. It would lower down to a drizzle now and then, but for the most part, it was just a wet day. So we had our friends in the Wildcat that we met out there. They, at this point, had not damaged their front steering linkage yet. And we were just pretty much going up hills. And the Honda was doing great. Her low gear, she was doing good. Like I said, I could have used more clearance and the bigger tires. Overall, it was a long day. The rain and the mud, and we really hadn't experienced these trails before, this kind of trail, just mud ruts going all the way down the hill. But it was fun and it was a challenge. There were some moments where we puckered up a little bit, but overall, just a challenging day, something different, and it's very different from where we normally ride. So this trip, which we took after Georgia up to Tennessee, was a welcome change. Now, the one characteristic of this area is just that yellow clay, which, again, with rocky items that are throughout your trail, whether it be big hard rocks or just a overall forest road that goes through before we hit this, there were some sharp rocks. It wasn't too bad. There was a lot of washout on some of the hills, but that is normal. That's just the nature of when you have heavily used trails with larger machines. I know Jeeps come through a lot of this from what I understand. And Trail 32 was just not super forgiving. It was, pretty much just to get through. And I think, as we mentioned before, it took us several hours, the whole day, to get back to base camp. And it was a day. And you can't see Wind Rock at all in a day, but we had a lot of interesting experiences. We had Gary almost flipped into the water. We had some counterbalance issues at some point, and I definitely could have used my skid plate. We just installed recently a Super ATV skid plate for the Honda Talon. Nice hard plastic, but we will eventually be able to go ahead and experience some of these trails with a little more assurance that we have protection on the bottom of our unit. My skid plate was pretty well banged up when we pulled it off this past week. Now this video is a bit of an extended video. You will see just a lot of trails here, so I'm not going to do much narration, but you can see just the chocolate milk covered water from the clay and the runoff and the rain. And some of these were, about a foot deep, and some of them a little deeper, but there's always a way around. We did have to take some alternate trails. This does snake up and down into the mountains. Gary had probably about the little less clearance than the Honda did, but still I think he had 28 or 29 inch tires, so they were a little bit bigger, but he still was stuck and high centered on some of the trails. So enjoy this. We'll talk a little bit more at the end of the video, but certainly do enjoy the ride. You will hear me narrate, since I am, while I do have cell service, doing a little bit of Facebook Live video and narrating. So you will hear some of this, but I tried to keep it down to a minimum when I was filming. But unfortunately, it seems to be a few of the individuals who watch us on Facebook would like to hear commentary. And so since we were out in the woods for ourselves by many hours, we decided to narrate, and we actually had a good group of people watching us. So you can see Gary and Shane both off on our side a little bit, and that was the norm for this. And I think wherever you go, you're going to have ruts that are like this. We had this in Hatfield and McCoy in West Virginia, and just overall, you have to just deal with it. Rock sliders can help you a little bit, but I do have some scrapes and war marks, battle wounds on the Honda from when I was off on the side in Reed Canyon, and you can see another video. I'll try to put that link up here. But definitely some odd angles, maybe a little bit more than the average person would be used to. I know some people say we do it all the time, and they have no problem with it. So very slippery. We're here at Wind Rock Trail 32. Coming on down. A lot of fun. Not really, but you know, the fun part. So this part of the trail, we would wind up going up one side of the incline and the mountain and then back down into valleys. And the sun was starting to get a little bit low in the day, and the afternoon was moving on. We did have more of these ruts that I kept hitting the bottom of the Honda with. Now, since this recording, we did install a Super ATV skid plate, which the hardened plastic definitely is a lot better than what comes stock. And I also did get a set of 32-inch Tuss terabytes, and so we should be good with having a little bit better of a ride and clearance. But a lot of these trails, as you can see, were pretty just much muddy and a bit of a slide coming down and then rocky coming up. And we had gotten to this last bit of hill area before we came to our section where the Wildcat was having some problems, and we pretty much were just making it up there. We're going slow. Again, still a heavy rain for the day, and I know Gary was getting caught up on some stuff, but we were making it along. so this last section we had, I guess it was a bit of a double step, and the steps of these rocks on this trail were, I'm guessing it was like 14, 15 inches. So we were trying to make it up, and Gary was just kept getting stuck on that and couldn't get enough traction on the wet rocks. So I know Shane was there taking a look at the situation, and he later would go back to his rig and hook up the Can-Am winch to just give Gary a little extra help up. So it was decided that we would do the winch assist, and so I got out of the Honda and made my way up to help Gary, just give him a little guidance and a little bit of assistance there, just maybe a push on the cage to get him up. Now once we had gotten him further up, it was my job to come back down, and we had a wildcat with us who had bent his steering rack, or bent it, and it wouldn't put pressure on the tires, and he was toe in, toe out without control. So I just grabbed a pry bar, which I had in the passenger seat under the seat, just to see what we can do with that situation. And at this point, it was my turn in the Honda to do the same thing to get up. And while I probably only had maybe an inch more clearance than Gary, I had a little more width to allow me to finagle in through those rocks. And I pretty much knew I was going to be up on 2 or 3 tires, but we wound up doing a little bit of a wheelie, so it was pretty cool. Now that I had made it up with the Talon, it was the fun part. We now had to help our friends in their Wildcat up with a bit of a front end problem where they couldn't really steer, and we had to tow them up little by little, and that's where the fun started. As we were getting everyone set up to do some winch work, the sun went down and darkness finally started to really set in.
Like that, but maybe a bigger one. Yeah. Right here, and then slow it on a little bit. Maybe it'll straighten out.
Try to think what else I have.
But you know, if it has to take any more.
Hey, why don't we go a little bit more? I'll get Mike to back up.
Maybe hook the hook on the steering rod. Like around and then back on it. About 1,000 tie wraps. Gotta get those metal ones that Miguel has.
Seems like the bend is this way now.
Yeah, I mean you're straight.
Yeah, but look how.
Yeah.
So can you put your steering wheel straight?
He's stuck standing up.
You can drive home toe in.
It's holding like that.
It's holding. He's got to fix it in.
Spin it some more, maybe. I don't know.
brake line.
It's wanting to like, the bend is wanting to turn down like that.
Would you be able to tow him if he put his winch cable? Oh, his cable broke. Never mind.
No, mine
It's
did.
just steering. That's the problem.
I know, but what I'm saying is, if you can
I was gonna put it
down here and then on the back of him, and he can
Yeah,
hold him up
lift him
right
up.
behind him on the way back, tow him back,
Give it a shot.
nose up.
It would take weight off the
I just
front.
don't know what we're getting into.
Me either. But I'll go first.
So you want to go left and go right?
Well, do we know the distance to the next trail, or we're on the same trail for we don't know how long? We don't know what the next big trail is.
I mean, it's better than it was.
Yeah, but it's just going to go right back to bend again. As soon as we have to put rock or something.
Take it out of four-wheel drive. Take it out of four-wheel drive.
So it's in my four-wheel drive with one. That's why I put it, but I mean, I could try it.
So I think four-wheel drive was doing it more. It's trying to grab this way. I think if you take it four-wheel drive, try and keep it straight. This is what this is for a while. I don't know how far up.
Don't know.
I really think we should try and bend that out with the wind. So. What do you guys think? I mean, just, like winch it straight a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if it's straight, then it's not going to want to bend as easy. But
My thought is you need to go first.
Well, he's in my way now. Well, I can actually.
We can all skirt over a little bit. So we can get by.
His winch idea though. Actually, you know what? I got a plan.
Because if we get in this spot again, you're at the bottom, we ain't gonna be able to get him up.
I got you. Hold on. Thank you with my Jimmy.
that's what we do. Winch in.
Other way. About 3 more feet.
That's a really dumb question. You put a ride command in a Wildcat.
So you
Alright,
can download it to
okay.
anything. So
Okay, so it's an Android.
It's Android tablet.
Gotcha.
I just put it on there.
I was gonna say, I looked at that for a moment, going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
A little bit more for me, bud. All right. A little bit more.
Sorry.
A little more. There you go. All right. Hold on. When you winch in, just click it. All right. Go ahead. Go. Go.
Watch it don't snap.
Let
I think it's just down one more hill.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not a down and an up and a down.
Honestly, like if it's bent like this, I could probably drive it down that road back to the car if I had
But you don't know what kind of hill we're gonna go down.
I'm saying like after we get to that road, yeah.
We'll conquer that challenge. If we can get them that far, we'll conquer it again. What we'll do is we'll spoil this up for now. And
Here. Just like, comment, and subscribe. And buy them dinner. We gotta get home first. Don't thank us yet.
I already owe him for a road.
me anything, brother.
I got you, man.
It's all good. It's all good. Next time it'll be us on the road and someone else will help us.
Should I winch it like regular?
Yeah.
Not the free spool?
You're not gonna be able to roll it.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I'll take that. So guys, how do you like Wind Rock?
Loving it.
Loving it.
Ain't my shit, so I'm fine.
I like Wind Rock. I just don't like the rain.
I'll get home eventually. So here. We'll get them there.
It happens.
Set up down. Set up down.
It'll stop raining and dry.
I have an emergency sleeping bag and an MRE in there.
Man, I'm surprised you haven't eaten that MRE yet.
It's like a one-time emergency thing. They're good for 25 years, but your colon, you need to last a lot longer with the colon.
I probably need it.
The colon or the food?
No, the binding. No, I'm actually pretty bound. That's the problem.
You just gotta carry 10 prunes with every MRE,
Right?
and then you're all set. It'll be wet and wild, much like that slide, the red slide. Is that supposed to be that long, that saver?
We have to freeze it.
All right.
I'll go a little bit. If we get to a spot where I think that it's going down, I'll go. Stop.
You got your D-ring, right?
Oh, that's fucking cold.
That is fucking really fucking cold. What a wonderful day here in Wind Rock. Helping the Wildcat out with broken steering. But then again, it could be any one of us. and see where it goes. So here we have.
So let's see where we're at. So we're on trail 30. It like this piece goes around. It's like a loop.
Towing. The Wildcat. There you go.
We're like almost at the back.
And I'll tell you, we will definitely sleep good tonight after all this. It was raining in Tennessee. Thankfully no tornadoes. But Shane towed up the Wildcat with Can-Am Turbo RR. Me and Gary in the Honda. Oh, I'll tell you, Trail 32 is a bitch. It's definitely not an easy one. So if it is, we will see.
And the GR means, what does GR mean?
GR?
What?
I need light.
I don't have light. I just
I can give it
take
to
a
you.
video. That's it. Sorry, I don't have light.
What kind of co-pilot are you?
Right?
What's black and pink right
Well, it's either that way or it's that way. I think it's that way.
Yeah, left.
there? Oh yeah.
Hey Gary, I'm gonna follow you.
Oh yeah, it says GR8 right in the tree.
G8, no R.
G8, yeah.
Stay up
That's what
front.
we want.
I got him through that. We'll get him through that. We're gonna go slow, okay? I just don't know from here to that G1 what it's like yet. So we get there. We got this far. We made it farther than I thought we were gonna make it right now.
They're either easy or maybe.
Honestly, here's a thought too. Why don't we get him to the road, unstrap him, one of us can run him down here and get his truck.
Yeah.
Then you can drive the truck to the top
Yeah.
of the hill. That's the best route. Go. Wherever you might push it down. Yeah. Yeah, wherever the road's at. Get us to a road. We'll do the rest.
Off the beaten trail.
Yeah, honestly, if
Yes, sir.
these things move back out just like they were before we went up the shit, I should probably drive it back too.
I mean, they're straighter than they've been.
Yeah, but like right before we hit that last section, they were like pretty straight there. It was driving fine. I think I could drive it all the way back.
Yeah, there's no weight on it to bend it
Right.
the wrong way. So
Yeah.
it's probably
So,
the assist is helping.
All right, let's do this.
sorry.
As a test. I'll unstrap you. I'm gonna leave everything here. You're gonna leave that loose, and if it repeats it again, we'll just. Cool.
Okay, so you want to unhook it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, they're gonna unstrap the Wildcat. I'm gonna get back in the Honda because my head is wet. Very wet.